The morning air was thick with dust as Jordan tightened the worn laces on his only pair of sneakers, the kind that had more holes than fabric but still carried him through each long day. The sun barely rose and he was already out the door with an old backpack slung over his shoulder, a plastic bag inside carrying 2 dry sandwiches and a bottle of water he had bought with the last of his coins. Jordan lived on the outskirts of the city in a cramped one-room apartment that sat above a noisy mechanic shop. The walls were stained with time, the ceiling fan barely spun, and the smell of oil and rust always lingered in the air. He had moved to the city with dreams as big as the skyscrapers that lined the downtown skyline, but so far life had done nothing but push him down. Back home he had left behind a mother who worked double shifts as a janitor and a younger brother who looked up to him as if he were some kind of superhero. He had promised them he would make something of himself, that he would change their lives forever. But so far Jordan had only known rejection. Every job application he submitted ended in silence. Every interview he managed to land ended with the same polite no and a door closing in his face. Still he refused to give up. He spent his days handing out flyers for a local printing shop, making barely enough to cover his rent and food. Every evening after work, instead of resting, he walked to the public library, the only place he could sit in peace and teach himself skills. He read about marketing, digital sales, personal finance, and anything he thought might help him break free from the cycle. Jordan was fascinated by stories of people who had started from nothing like him and built something remarkable. He believed that if they could do it, then so could he. One day, as he sat at his usual corner table in the library, his eyes locked on an article about flipping used electronics for profit. It sounded simple enough. Buy broken phones, fix them, and sell them. He had always been good with his hands. Back in high school he used to fix his neighbors' old radios and televisions just for fun. That night he decided to try. He used the last $50 he had saved to buy a cracked smartphone from an online marketplace. The next few nights he watched countless repair tutorials, studied every screw and wire, and after several failed attempts and a burnt fingertip he finally managed to fix the screen. He listed it for sale, and within a day someone offered to buy it for $120. Jordan felt a rush of adrenaline he had never experienced before. This was it. His way out. He used that money to buy 2 more broken phones, fixed them, and sold them again. The cycle repeated. Within a month he had earned $600. He began to understand the patterns in the market, what models sold fast, what repairs were worth the time, and what parts to avoid. He started keeping a small notebook where he recorded every transaction, every profit, and every mistake. But Jordan knew if he wanted to grow this hustle into something bigger, he would need more than just hustle. He needed connections, suppliers, tools, and most importantly, knowledge. He reached out to local repair shops, pretending to be a curious student, asking if he could watch and learn. Most said no. But one older technician named Sam saw something in Jordan. He let him hang around after hours and even taught him tricks to speed up repairs and make them last longer. Sam became his mentor in a way. He warned Jordan about scammers, shady suppliers, and the importance of honesty in business. Jordan listened to every word. The work was exhausting. Jordan still held on to his day job to keep rent paid, while every free moment went into sourcing, fixing, and selling phones. His apartment became a tiny repair station with parts, wires, and tools scattered across the floor. He hardly slept. But every time he sent money back home. Every time his mother called him, crying tears of pride. It reminded him why he was doing this. 6 months passed and Jordan had saved enough to quit his flyer job. It was a huge risk, but he believed in his system now. He spent his days roaming flea markets, online listings, and local auctions looking for new deals. He even made a simple website using free tools to attract customers. At first it barely got traffic. But then he started posting before and after. Jordan's desire to grow his business didn't stop at just selling refurbished phones. He knew that in order to stand out in a saturated market, he would have to take his hustle to the next level. One evening, after a long day of work, Jordan found himself sitting in front of his old laptop, the screen flickering as he scrolled through articles about e-commerce. That night, the idea of launching his own online store began to take shape. It was a huge leap. He had no experience with websites, marketing, or managing inventory. But he had a vision, one where he could not only repair and sell phones, but where he could offer a wide range of electronics. He'd seen so many people waste money on cheap, unreliable products. He believed he could provide better options at a fair price, while building a reputation for trustworthiness. Jordan decided to take a deep breath and invest in his vision. He spent the next few weeks studying how to build an e-commerce platform. With every free moment, he watched tutorial after tutorial on YouTube, learning how to set up an online store and promote it. He spent hours researching the best shipping options, how to handle returns, and what kind of customer service would keep people coming back. His first step was to create a basic website, which he set up using a simple template. The look wasn't polished, but it was functional. He offered a limited selection of phones for sale and promoted repair services. His budget was tight, so he used every spare dollar to buy the necessary materials and advertise through social media. At first, the traffic was slow. He spent long hours crafting posts on Instagram and Facebook, using free marketing tools to reach potential customers. He wasn't expecting much, but he believed in the product he was offering. Slowly, he began to see the fruits of his labor. A few customers took a chance on him, buying refurbished phones and leaving glowing reviews. Jordan's success didn't come overnight, but each sale was a small victory. He kept learning, tweaking, and improving his offerings. As more people trusted him with their devices, he started to see his business grow in ways he never expected. He realized that while his hustle had gotten him this far, now it was time for him to get serious and invest in his future. As his business grew, Jordan began to reinvest every penny back into it. He upgraded his website, bought better tools for repairs, and even started hiring part-time help to handle the growing workload. His days were still packed, with early mornings, late nights, and constant problem-solving, but the rewards started to speak for themselves. Despite the long hours, Jordan felt a sense of pride he had never experienced before. He wasn't just surviving anymore, he was building something. It wasn't easy, but he understood now that success didn't come from sitting back and waiting for opportunities. It came from creating them. He had learned that the most successful people weren't the ones who simply waited for things to happen, they were the ones who made things happen. One of the most shocking moments in Jordan's journey came when a major influencer in the tech industry reached out to him. She had found his business on Instagram and was impressed by the quality of his work. She offered to feature his store on her platform, which had millions of followers. It was a golden opportunity, one that could propel his business to new heights. Jordan was floored. He had never expected this kind of attention, especially not this early in his journey. He knew he had to seize this moment. He worked tirelessly to prepare, ensuring that his inventory was in order, his customer service was top-notch, and his website was ready for a significant surge in traffic. When the feature went live, Jordan watched as orders poured in, each notification on his phone like a burst of energy. His phone buzzed non-stop as customers flooded in from every direction. Within a matter of weeks, Jordan's small operation had exploded. The phone calls, emails, and online inquiries were coming in faster than he could handle. His small team couldn't keep up with the demand, and he knew that he needed to make the next big move. But with success came its own set of challenges. Jordan's rapid growth brought new obstacles he hadn't anticipated, logistical challenges, inventory shortages, and even issues with quality control. His mind raced as he worked to solve these problems. But no matter how tough the days got, he knew he couldn't afford to slow down. His dream was finally within reach, and there was no turning back now. It was during this period of intense growth that Jordan realized the true power of hard work and hustle. The long hours and sleepless nights were no longer just sacrifices, they were the foundation of the success he was building. He had gone from struggling to make ends meet to becoming a force in the electronics market. But he also understood that this was just the beginning. The hard work that had gotten him this far would have to continue if he wanted to take his business to even greater heights. Jordan didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain, he was never going to give up. The fire that had fueled him from the very beginning was still burning strong, and he was more determined than ever to see his dreams come to life. He had gone from zero to millionaire not by waiting for a break, but by creating one. And he knew that this success story was only just getting started. As Jordan's business continued to grow, so did the complexity of his operations. What had started as a simple side hustle had now evolved into a full-fledged enterprise. The small team he had put together was working overtime, and the pressure was mounting. Jordan had already moved out of his tiny apartment into a larger space that would allow him to scale, but with that came more responsibility. There were more employees to manage, more suppliers to negotiate with, and more customers to keep satisfied. In the beginning, Jordan had been the face of his business. He handled the repairs, the orders, and the customer service himself. But now, with demand surging and his time stretched thin, he knew he couldn't do it all. He had to start delegating. He began to bring in experts, people with skills that complemented his own. He hired a marketing manager to handle his growing online presence, a logistics specialist to streamline operations, and a customer service team to ensure his clients had the best possible experience. Despite the rapid expansion, Jordan remained grounded. He didn't want to lose sight of the values that had brought him this far: honesty, hard work, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. He spent long hours mentoring his team, making sure they understood the company's mission and vision. He wasn't just building a business, he was building a culture of success. One of the hardest lessons Jordan had to learn in this next phase of growth was how to deal with failure. As successful as his business was, it wasn't without its challenges. In his first few months of expansion, Jordan made a critical mistake that could have cost him everything. He had taken on too many orders without properly vetting his suppliers. A batch of faulty parts arrived, leading to multiple customers receiving defective products. It wasn't just a minor inconvenience, it was a major setback. Jordan spent sleepless nights making things right, refunding customers, and sending out replacements at his own cost. The experience was humbling, but it taught him an important lesson: success wasn't just about making money, it was about building trust. By the time Jordan reached his first full year in business, he had learned to navigate the complexities of scaling up. His team was stronger, his systems more efficient, and his customer base loyal. His reputation as a trustworthy, hard-working entrepreneur spread far beyond his initial circle of customers. People were talking about his story, the young man who had started with nothing, who had hustled his way into a thriving business. It was then that Jordan began to realize just how far he had come. He looked back at the journey, the long hours, the sacrifices, the moments when he doubted himself, and marveled at how much he had achieved. From handing out flyers for pennies to managing a company that was now generating millions in revenue, his story was nothing short of remarkable. But success didn't make Jordan complacent. He was always looking for ways to improve, to innovate, and to stay ahead of the curve. He started investing in new technologies, like artificial intelligence and automation, to streamline his operations even further. He attended conferences and networked with industry leaders, always on the lookout for new ideas and strategies that could help him grow his business. One of the most rewarding aspects of Jordan's success was the ability to give back. He hadn't forgotten where he came from, and he wasn't about to forget the people who had supported him along the way. With his newfound wealth and influence, Jordan began to invest in his community. He set up scholarships for young people interested in tech and entrepreneurship, providing them with the resources they needed to chase their own dreams. He also started a mentorship program, where he would personally guide aspiring entrepreneurs through the ups and downs of building a business from the ground up. It was during one of his mentorship sessions that Jordan had a realization that would change everything. A young woman, just starting her own business, asked him what the most important lesson he had learned was. Jordan thought for a moment, then said, "The most important thing I've learned is that success isn't about doing everything on your own. It's about surrounding yourself with the right people, learning from your failures, and never losing sight of your vision. If you keep working hard, keep learning, and keep pushing forward, you'll get there. But don't forget to help others along the way." As Jordan sat back and reflected on his journey, he couldn't help but feel proud of everything he had accomplished. He had built a business from the ground up, started with nothing, and turned his hustle into something that would last for generations. But more than that, he had proved to himself that no matter how hard life gets, no matter how many doors close in your face, success is possible if you're willing to put in the work. And so, Jordan's story, once one of struggle and uncertainty, had become a testament to the power of hard work, persistence, and the unwavering belief that anything is possible. From zero to millionaire, he had not only achieved financial success but had also created a legacy that would inspire others for years to come. Looking forward, Jordan knew that his journey wasn't over. There would be more challenges, more risks, and more obstacles to overcome. But he was no longer afraid. He had proven to himself that with enough hustle, anything was possible. The future was bright, and Jordan was ready for whatever came next.